It is 4:06 on the Central Coast. It is Thursday, October 14th, 2021. This is Smart People Day. We only have smart people on the show. I'm telling you, we just had Annie Lorenzen. Later on this hour, we've got John Lindsay. He knows weather. In about an hour, we've got Jenny Romer. She is with a group called Slow Breathe Easy. She wants to continue the conversation we started yesterday about leaf blowers and air quality in San Luis Obispo. And then Dr. James Armstead. Boy, that guy's really smart at 6:05. What's going on with China and Taiwan and whether or not we should get involved. It is a Dave Congalton Show, weekday afternoons from 3:05 to 7 o'clock right here on KVEC. This hour, we've got another smart guest. Lindsay Harn, our real estate buddy with Richardson Properties, chimes in from time to time. She joins us now. Lindsay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dave. You've got me a little intimidated with today's lineup, but I will do my best.
Oh, you fit right in. Now, and you're the only guest of the guests we have today. You sold a house today.
I did. I had a wonderful day. Helped a first-time home buyer, a young single gal, close on her first home in San Luis Obispo. And the very best part is she didn't have to compete with any other offers. I found her an off-market condominium for $365,000. Her mortgage payment will be less than what the two-bedroom, one-bath she was renting will actually cost. So it was a very happy story for affordable homeownership today.
Well, wait a minute. Stop the presses. You found a condo in San Luis Obispo for $365,000?
I did.
How'd you find it? I got to ask. How'd you find it?
Well, through my network, I had heard that this property had been coming on the market. The owner was going to get ready to paint and do carpet, but he lived out of the area, and all the products he was trying to buy were, back ordered like everything right now. And so someone told me, hey, if you want to show it or you have somebody, he'll take it an offer now and not have to mess with the paint and the carpet. So went and showed it to her. She made a full price offer. He took it, and she'll actually be paying less in mortgage than she was in rent with just a 5% total down.
Wow. And Lindsay, we'll sidetrack here, but I think this is important, that one of the things that an agent like you has is this network. You got to be able to sell a house, but you've got to be connected. You've got to have your ear to the ground so that when an opportunity like this pops up, you find out about it.
Absolutely. I mean, she is just absolutely ecstatic. I think she'd been looking for, almost a year. So to be able to stay in Slow and not have to move further away from her work and the commute, she's just absolutely ecstatic. And that's what I absolutely love about getting to help people and really make a difference in their lives.
Well, I have a friend who bought a house on Ella Street, which is one of my favorite streets in San Luis Obispo. Same exact thing. Her agent this is like 5-6 years ago, was very well connected, and he found out that this was happening, and they were able to move in and make an offer before it was listed. And boom, she's got a great house.
Absolutely, yes, and great location.
Yeah. All right, so how are things in general, specifically in the city of San Luis Obispo, Lindsay, in terms of the real estate market?
Well, the market is still quite strong. I know a lot of people are kind of starting to think, well, the seasons are changing. Is the real estate market cooling off?
Right.
And, in the city of San Luis Obispo alone, we've had about 285 more homes sell than did in 2020.
Really?
So when we say, is the market cooling off, no, we've actually had a phenomenal year. We could basically call it quits and still be about on pace for what happened in the whole city last year. What the biggest challenge, I think, when people say, is the market cooling off, is, are there homes to buy? So if a qualified buyer is out there looking, between, let's just say, 800 to 1.1, which is about what a single family in San Luis Obispo will cost you these days, there's maybe 4 or 5 homes to choose from. And so if you don't like a certain neighborhood or don't like a certain floor plan, you may be out of luck, because I think we've got about 32 homes for sale in the entire city, and that includes, condos starting at 300 all the way up to ranches up to, $9-10 million.
Yeah. And the 285 number, do we have any sense as to why we have all these houses for sale now, meaning are people leaving the area, or are they taking advantage of the market thinking this is the time to sell?
In terms of why there's been so many additional transactions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Obviously, we've had a lot of new homes come online. So, like, I think Rigetti Ranch is almost completely sold out. So a lot of those people actually reserved these homes last year, and they're actually getting the keys and moving into the homes this year. So some of that is definitely because of all the new homes and condos that are being built across the city. But also, I think, some other people have decided, you know what, the market's hot, the interest rates are great, it's a good time for me to downsize from a 2-story into a 1-story, and then we've got some people, family, change of life, moving out of state, but generally, I think it's just a good opportunity.
You mentioned all these housing developments, and so like Rigetti is almost sold out?
That is correct.
Wow. So you can, if there are new developments like San Luis Ranch, for example, or what's going in off of Buckley Road, you can go to your agent and say, I want in on that development, even though the houses aren't built yet.
Exactly. And so if somebody's out there kind of thinking, you know what, I may want to get into the market in the next 3 months to a year, we should actually be talking now, because if you can reserve a lot or a home at today's prices, they're estimating prices are going to be up another 5 to 6% next year. You can basically beat the competition and get in early before the prices continue to go up.
I'm chuckling about the Rigetti news. I mean, and no disrespect to anybody involved with the project, but that's the one where the billboards were announcing prices start in the low 1 millions.
That sure got a lot of people upset and a lot of laughs. But that's one of the sections that still has some homes available called Ladera, small yards but spacious homes.
Are these people coming from outside the area, Lindsay? We're hearing more and more about remote working, people leaving LA, people leaving San Francisco. They want quality of life above everything else.
We are still seeing, last year was obviously the peak when the pandemic hit. I think the wealthiest people decided to jump ship out of the cities first, and then a lot of people working for these tech companies and places where they could be remote followed. So, yes, we are still seeing an influx of people from out of town, but we're also seeing, people who have been here and renting, taking advantage of these great interest rates. I think we're sitting around 3.1% today on a 30-year fixed, which is just phenomenal.
We are in conversation with Lindsay Harn from Richardson Properties. Lindsay, let's remind folks of your website, please.
It's my name, lindsayharngroup.com.
HARN. Home equity has increased by nearly 30%?
Correct.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I got a little report on that. I think I shared that with you. Yeah, but people don't realize, and I'm meeting with people every week where they go, oh my gosh, I got an appraisal for a refinance, and I couldn't sell my home 8 years ago for $1 million, and the bank's now telling me it's worth 1.8. So people are just shocked with how much prices have gone up and how much equity they're sitting on.
Yeah. All right. A lot to unpack here with Lindsay Harn. We'll come back for a second segment. I'm Dave Congalton. We're live. We're local. We're KVEC. All right, it's Smart People Day on Hometown Radio. Only smart people get the guest today. John Lindsay joins us after news at the bottom of the hour. We are in conversation with Lindsay Harn from Richardson Properties. Lindsay, before I bring Craig into the conversation, I just want to come back to what we were talking about before the break with what's going to be happening between now and Christmas. I defer to you on real estate, but my understanding was traditionally during the school year wasn't a good time to put homes on the market. You wanted to do it in the spring, summertime. What about between now and the end of the year?
That's a great question. I think last December, just in the city of San Luis Obispo, we had 99 homes or condos close escrow. So, a lot of people have that traditional mindset, but here, our fall weather can be phenomenal. The supply of competing homes for sale tends to be at the lowest point. So sometimes you can actually take advantage of fewer competing listings versus waiting till January when a lot of people put their homes on the market after the holidays. They can look festive. People are emotional during the holidays. And again, we've got people on tax deadlines that sometimes need to buy up real estate for whatever reason by the end of the year. So there are some phenomenal opportunities just depending on the individual situation.
And the flip side, is this the time to sell if you're thinking of selling?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Explain.
I mean, the competition is very low. Prices are quite high, and we've got the interest rates and high demand of buyers backlogged waiting for homes.
Yeah. Craig, let me bring you in because you've got your real estate license. You know this stuff.
Yeah, there was a couple things that you said that I thought were interesting. The fact that that person bought a house that was off market, and I'm wondering, why should the seller accept an offer before it even hits the market?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. In this particular situation, that's what was in the seller's interest. He had a tax deadline where it made sense for him to get that sold. He lived out of town, didn't want to do the headache. I did not represent him, but that's what his agent had indicated, and he was happy with the price and felt like it was fair. Every seller's situation is different. A lot of times people don't want, 10, 20, 30 strangers walking through their house if they can hit a number that makes a lot of sense without having to go through that whole process. Sometimes sellers will choose that, but of course, if you want to get top dollar, putting it on the open market is one way to certainly consider doing that.
And maybe you just wanted to unload it, not go through the hassle.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking of everyone's individual needs, out there. And one thing you mentioned about that was that the woman who bought the house, the mortgage or the condo, the mortgage is actually less than her rent. And I'm just wondering, if someone's looking at buying, what % of their monthly income should be going to the mortgage?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, the banks will allow you to go up to 40% DTI, so you could spend basically 45% of your gross, not your net, on debt. So debt would include car payments, child support, anything that follows you. So you can go up to 45%. I mean, traditionally, they say if you can keep your housing to 30 to 35%, that's fantastic, but the banks will allow you to go up to 45% debt to income, sometimes even higher, but generally speaking, 45%.
I'm trying to think what my DTI is.
Yeah. Well, with all your radio money, don't even worry about it.
But I think the cool part of this story is, to rent a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in this town with pets, you're probably in the $2,200 to $2,400 range these days, and unless you've been there for a long time. So she was actually able to save $300 to $400 a month, and now she's building equity in something that she can own and keep for a very long time.
Let me stop you and back up. Repeat the rental price in San Luis Obispo, 22 to 24?
Correct. That is generally what we're seeing for 2-bedroom properties that would allow pets.
No, that actually sounds kind of low right now, I was thinking. I'm like,
for a 2-bedroom?
For 2-bed, yeah, Los Osos, I know it's a 1-bedroom is going for, I think, $1,800 in some places. So I'm thinking, it could even creep up higher than that.
It's crazy time.
Yeah,
it is. The rents have maybe gone up more than the prices. I mean, the rents are so strong, and the rental market's very tight. So in this situation, she's actually able to have a quite a win-win. And
are we building more rental properties that you're aware of, Lindsay?
The over off of Orchid and Johnston, basically, there's called the Vintage is slow. So there are some new apartments going in, another complex going in over on Laurel. I think the challenge is people just can't build fast enough for all of the demand that's here for both sale or for rent.
All right, we got Lindsay Harn from Richardson Properties. Her website is?
LindsayHarngroup.com.
We got Bob and Oceano on KVEC. Hi, Bob.
Yeah, hi, Dave and Lindsay. Actually, I'll tell you, when we basically 5.5 years ago, we were living abroad. We had to move because where we were renting, the guy had to sell the house. We started looking for the two of us, my wife and I, and we were looking at $2,200 to $2,400 to rent in San Luis. absolute minimum. And then we ended up finding a house down in Oceano where our mortgage was going to be $1,700, which meant we were going to save $700 a month. And now we've been able to negotiate it down to $1,400. So we've actually saved $1,000 a month moving out of San Luis proper.
Jeez. Lindsay, is surprised by that?
No, that's phenomenal. It sounds like you made a very wise decision. That sometimes that does make the most sense to just go a little bit further and not have to pay rents, and now you're getting all the benefits of owning your home.
And how's life in Oceano, Bob?
Listen, you guys are sweltering. We're sort of enjoying a slightly warmer day, but not much. So it's beautiful. We love it down here.
All right, so it sounds like you made the right move.
Thank you.
All right, Bob, thank you. Craig?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you're seeing an uptick in contingency sales with such low inventory, people that are basically making the sales of their house contingent on finding their next house, or even the buyer being able to sell his previous house. Is that increasing?
We are. I completely understand. So yes, on the buyer side, it's very rare for a seller to take a contingent offer on their house because most sellers are having the benefit of getting more than one offer. So it's rare that a seller would take a buyer's contingency if they have not put their home on the market or put it in escrow. We've got some creative solutions for people in those situations that we can kind of cater to their specific situation. As far as a seller goes, we're seeing them, we're building in a lot of flexible things for the seller. So maybe they're getting 30 to 60 days to stay in their house after close of escrow rent-free. We're seeing them maybe make it contingent upon them finding a rental or finding a suitable place to move. But yeah, there's a lot of things that buyers are agreeing to on the seller's end where we can really make it a nice situation for them to say stay in their home through the holidays, and then they move out in the new year while benefiting from all the cash in the bank so that they can go make deposits for their next home.
You kind of answered this question already, but on the Stolberg line, a listener wants to know if most of the people buying the houses, specifically in San Luis Obispo, are coming here from out of town.
I mean, we're still seeing a ton of local buyers, don't get me wrong, but I would say there's probably about 15 to 30%, depending on the price range, where we are seeing people coming from out of the area, or, maybe they're getting money from parents from out of the area, like people that graduate Cal Poly, they stay in the area and work, and maybe their parents are funding them the down payment from elsewhere.
I got about a minute left, Lindsay Harn. I saw this in the paper. I think you did too. The county is going to consider this change in policy to allow landowners to rent out campsites on their property. That could be the next big deal. Buy a house and pay for it by renting out campsites.
I would hope there'd be like at least a 10 or 20 acre minimum on something like that, just because I could only imagine what neighbors are going to think. But the Airstream and the glamping is definitely on its way up, so this will be very interesting to see what happens with this.
I told you she was smart. Lindsay Harn is her name with Richardson Properties. Website is lindsayharngroup.com. What's the best phone number for you, Lindsay?
805-441-7744.
You get 20 seconds for a final thought, please.
Oh, well, keep me on my toes. No, I just appreciate the conversation today. If anybody has, specific questions, obviously we're talking very general here. Be more than happy to answer questions or be a point of advice if you're on the fence about potentially upsizing, downsizing, or anywhere in between.
All right, Lindsay, thanks for joining us. Keep selling.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
All right, off we go. We got news and traffic and weather. Smart Person Show continues. John Lindsay up next.